Hey everyone. I wanted to take this quick moment to talk about WWE suspending Roman Reigns. I know people have been talking about it from the Lex Man to wrestling with regret, and to me, this kind of explains, especially from reports by Richard Gray in Wrestling News World and PWR Torch and Pro Wrestling Unlimited. It kind of explains why Roman lost the championship at Money in the Bank. It kind of explains why he lost clean. So But what it doesn't explain is why he was on Raw. Well, apparently, according to a report, WWE kind of knew, if not did know about this, and decided to just let him work both shows already because he was advertised to. And I guess they needed an excuse to get the triple threat happening because they couldn't just, say, oh, Roman got injured or got concussed or anything. So yeah, apparently WWE knew, but yet they still let him work the Raw after instead of suspending him. And then they suspended him, but they suspended him with the 30-minute, well, not 30-minute, but 30-day suspension, which is your first violation. And it's just enough time for him to be at home, sitting back, thinking about his actions. He's already gone on Twitter and apologized about it. And, and taking responsibility for his actions, so one has to respect that. But this does kind of put WWE in a bind because they either got to acknowledge that he's suspended on television by saying the reason Roman's not here is because he's serving a 30-day suspension due to violating the wellness policy, or they come up with some kooky cockamamie idea that says, oh, by the way, he has a concussion, so he's out for, you know, he's out at least till Battleground, at least. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but they got to come up with something to at least acknowledge the reason he's not going to be there for the next month. Now, what this does with WWE is puts them in a bind because I think originally with the brand split, they were going to probably do a double pin situation on Dean Ambrose at Battleground with both Roman and Seth walking out champion. So both will represent one show, each show. Like Seth represents SmackDown, Raw is represented by Roman. But with that said, it looks like they may have to change things up. And if they still want to do a double pin, which to me would be the best scenario, they're probably going to have to go with Dean and Seth pinning Roman. Because I think if WWE doesn't want to look like hypocrites or anything like that, by letting Roman become one of the champions after Battleground, then they're going to have to let him, then they're going to basically have to allow him to rebuild himself, to rebuild his character. Because here's a guy that they were focusing on as being the face of the company, being the guy, being the man, the next John Cena, and yet now he's serving 30 days at home because of a wellness violation. And here's the thing: they don't want to get a black eye on them. They don't want to have a black eye put on them, or an even bigger black eye put on them, and look like hypocrites to those that support them. Because if they end up giving the belt to Roman 2 or 3 days after he goes back from suspension, then nobody's going to want to trust them anymore. Nobody's going to want to believe them anymore. So this basically changes things around in a big way for WWE. Now, will Roman get the belt before the year's out? Absolutely. But don't expect it to be at least until maybe towards the end of the year when this whole thing kind of blows off. And because basically he's going to have to spend another month or two reproving himself to everybody that, okay, I'm not going to make this mistake anymore. Now, because it'd be like if the NFL did that for Russell Wilson. Let's say Russell Wilson plays a majority of the season, and he ends up getting suspended for the last month of the season, and yet he's still named the NFC MVP. What sense does that make when he didn't play the final season of the final month of the season? You know what I'm saying? So it does put him in a bind, but hopefully WWE will realize, okay, what we wanted to do originally, we're going to have to change, because if we do it that way, it's going to make us look like hypocrites and make us look like, hey, we don't even care about, standing up to, drug abuse or domestic violence and stuff like that, like we're currently doing with the suspension of Jerry Lawler and now this suspension of Roman Reigns. So overall, though, hopefully Roman will learn his lesson from this, and Again, I would expect it's going to take another 30, maybe 60 days after this to prove himself before WWE considers putting the championship back on him. So that's just my thoughts on the whole Roman Reigns being suspended by WWE for his violation of the wellness policy. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'm out.